Today, I want to talk about flex culture and collectibles and why it's one of probably the worst parts of the collectibles hobby. And it's sort of a trap for a lot of people. And 6 months ago, I did a video on the addiction and gambling side of trading card collecting. And this sort of applies to almost any sort of collectibles hobby, right? Regardless of if it's figures, trading cards, or whatever you collect. Someone even collected tarot cards, for example, right? And this really resonated with a lot of people. And a lot of you guys came forth and shared a lot of your stories in the comments, talking about how, you know what, it is an addiction and it can slowly ruin you financially if it hasn't already, right? And I really appreciated hearing those stories. But one thing I want you guys to also keep in mind is that for every one person that comes forth and goes like, you know what, I admit I fucked up. I went into the trading card hobby or whatever hobby it is, and whether it was due to the pandemic or whether it was just an outlet for whatever frustrations you have with your daily life, you know, just so you have something that brings you joy, which is perfectly fine. But, you know, it was leading you towards pretty much financial ruin because, you know, you're getting suckered into spending so much into this hobby that a lot of people don't realize. And for every person that comes forth and shares these stories and are willing to admit that they are making mistakes, there's tons of people out there that watch these videos and go like, you know what, they might still be in denial, or they might just be like, you know what, I'm already so deep into these hobbies that, you know, I don't see a way out other than going further into it, which is another story, right? But which is why I feel it's so important to share and talk about these topics. So what is flex culture, right? I would say flex culture is something that has been given a rise just due to the fact that social media is available. There's TikTok, Instagram, Discord groups, Facebook groups, and what do we see all the time, right, in these groups? Anytime someone pulls something, they're like, oh my God, like I pulled this, and they have to post a picture right away to share it. Oh, there's always some asshole taking their collectible outdoors and taking a picture in the sun and whatever, right? And then there's one thing I want you guys to keep in mind. For the people that show off a lot of their stuff, a good portion of it is because they're advertising that they're trying to sell it, right? Remember when I did other videos talking about topics about shilling and whatnot, trying to bring up value to the things that people collect and hoard so that, you know, if they make people seem like, oh, something desirable, then they could sell it. So that's part of flex culture. What's the other part of flex culture, right? Like, a lot of clickbait YouTube videos, pretty much, not like any specific YouTuber, for example. It's always videos just like, oh my God, $1,000. Oh my God, $1 million card, whether it's Pokemon, sports, white shorts, whatever you collect, right? So what I want to bring to the discussion is the question of who are you really collecting for and who are you flexing to and what is the purpose of this, right? Where are you really collecting for yourself sometimes? Or are you just collecting just to post that one moment on social media just to tell people, hey, look at this. I just bought this for X amount of dollars, right? And we've all kind of seen it, right? Where whether it's in your Discord group, Facebook group, or whatever it is, or in the comments, look through those comments whenever someone shows off something. Someone always feels like they have to one up them, right? People always seem to have this compulsion. I'm sure you've seen it in these comments where someone posts something and go like, oh, look, guys, check out, I just got this brand new item. And then someone else decides to post right after, oh yeah, I have that too. Or I got this as well too. And just to kind of add on to someone else's flex post and flexing on someone else's flex post, you know, and it's just really stupid. And if you watch my channel, you know that I actually collect a lot of things, right? I collect collectibles, I collect toys, I collect trading cards, I collect model kits, whatever it is, figures. And, you know, I get the aspect, and I'm guilty of it sometimes too, where sometimes, you know, I like sharing my excitement with other people. If I genuinely really like something, I buy like a new figure, I do like a review on it. I genuinely enjoy it. I like sharing my excitement with other people. And I get that, but I just want to bring light to the side of where sometimes when you guys are buying some of these things, I want you to really reflect on why you're making these purchases and why you're paying certain price tags for it. Whether you're buying it because you truly want this item and you truly enjoy collecting it and it brings you joy, perfect, right? But if you're buying these things because, oh yeah, I can't wait to show this off to other people, then I want you to think about that. The great thing I like about the YouTube format is it's not really an argument, right? It's mostly a discussion and it's after the fact of, I guess, presenting all your facts rather than going back and forth with people. And we can agree to disagree. And there are people that do disagree with when I make statements about how, talking about values, and some people, argue about how when they were kids, they didn't care. They did care about the value and they knew the value of these cards and whatnot. And I understand those aspects, right? And the thing I want to kind of make a point out about this flex culture thing and flexing on other people and showing off your collections and who you're really collecting for is that I think at the core of it, it's about validation. It's about feeling validated and telling other people so they could give you feedback on, oh, yeah, that thing that you just bought is really cool. It totally justifies your purchase. But whether or not after the fact that you get that validation, if that purchase really matters to you, right? And going back to the topic of how a lot of people fell into the collectibles hobby in the recent few years, especially during the pandemic. And I feel like the collectible hobby is a very, very good outlet, or any kind of hobby is a very good outlet for people in regards to their feelings, their emotions. And a lot of people were cooped up and they needed some sort of place to vent their, energy on, whether it was positive, negative, or whatever it is, right? And I think collectibles is a very, very good outlet for it. And that's where I feel like a lot of this sense of validation or need or craving for validation comes from. And I'm kind of going to go through a couple of things and you'll kind of, whether you resonated with it or not, you'll kind of see what I mean, right? So one sense of validation, maybe when you're a kid, I don't know, like some people were bullied as children, or maybe they were the unpopular kid as children, right? Or maybe they didn't have a lot of things as children. So they feel like, a lot of people feel like they need that validation that, hey, you know what? Outside of online, my real life persona, whether it's now or in the past, I feel like I was unwanted. I feel like I was bullied and, I wasn't what people felt like they desired to be or have things that other people desire and want. But with social media and access to social media and how there's such a big emphasis on flexing and flex culture and showing off what you have on these materialistic things, people feel like, you know what? Oh, if I buy these things and I show other people, then that would make me feel good as opposed to the other things that I've felt or I'm feeling right now, which could give you that moment when you post that and people give you the likes or like, oh, this is so cool or whatever it is. It gives you a temporary, boost in, whatever it is, right? Chemicals in your brain that goes like, oh yeah, this feels really good, which kind of pushes you to continue to do this, whether or not that moment is fleeting. Another outlet of emotion, I feel like why people crave this sense of validation and need for validation is, I think, loneliness and probably somewhat dissatisfaction of whatever is going on in their lives, right? I talked about in the dark side of collectibles and gambling and addiction, where people use these hobbies as sort of an outlet where they might not be in the financial situation to be able to afford this hobby, to go on these, flex purchases like a lot of these social media influencers, right? Again, you have to think back. A lot of these flex posts of a lot of people, they show off their cards, their collection, because they're selling these items and they're trying to drive interest to these, right? And then when you look at social media influencers, YouTubers, for example, they buy these things, they show off these things, they open these things like booster boxes, for example, and they spend thousands on these things because they have hundreds of subscribers, thousands of subscribers, millions of subscribers. They make money off of these things. Whereas you, as a normal person, it's okay to be a normal person, right? It's okay to not be able to afford things, but they don't disclose that, they make money off of this content. And you need to realize that it's okay to be a normal person and not be able to buy these things and not have these things. And, I don't feel like it's talked about enough that, you know what? Like, you don't need to buy these things to feel validated, for other people to make you feel validated by leaving you that 1 second, like, cool item, bro, or like that 1 second for them to click a like. And then you end up going into financial ruin. You're going into debt buying these things, and you're buying these things you either can't afford or you probably shouldn't have bought to begin with, all for the sake of just having other people's approval. Is it worth it? I really don't think so. And I mentioned I like YouTube as a format because it's a discussion, right? It's something that should be thought provoking, whether you agree with my points of view or you don't. But if it causes you to think about something, then I've already done my job, right? Whether it's something that specifically applies to you directly, or it's something that, makes you think about, hey, you know what? Maybe that one thing that I bought that was really expensive might have not been something that I really wanted or needed. And I really think that's really important when it comes to these things, because especially when it comes to how expensive this hobby can get, which kind of transitions over to one other emotion I think a lot of people feel when it comes to the collectibles hobby is, I think a lot of it stems from loneliness and the desire of just feeling that feeling of being wanted or desired by other people in some way, some shape or form, or just wanting any sort of human connection, right? Because it feels good, right? When other people, leave likes, leave comments. Like, I feel it too. When you guys leave likes, leave comments on the videos, like, oh, okay, you know, it feels nice that someone acknowledges and recognizes, hey, they're telling you you're doing a good job or something you're doing is great. And they like something that you're making or something that you have, right? But I think that sort of need and craving for being desired and validated is very, very, very toxic when it comes to social media and it comes to flexing in general. It could doesn't even have to apply to the collectibles hobby. It could apply to your life outside of it. Whether it's like, what, you're talking about your job. Someone's always talking about how, oh, I'm making this much money. And then some other guy's gonna be like, oh, I'm making this much money, or I used to make this much money. And then I have this, I have a house. Oh, but that's not enough. Oh, some other guy I have a bigger house. I have a nicer house. It's never enough, right? And I want to bring to the topic of graded cards, right? I've talked about it. I have my opinions on it. And I know it's something that's really, really big in the collectibles hobby, whether it's graded cards, graded comics, they even have graded VHS tapes, like graded video games, right? Which is also like a topic of another time as well, too. But for today, I want you to think about, why does it matter what grade something is to you as a person, as an individual, right? So you have a raw card. It may be, I don't know, like pretty mint, 9, 10, whatever, 8, whatever it is. Looks really nice and you like it. I like it. I like having it in my collection. Why does it matter if it's a graded 9? Why does it matter if it's a graded 10, right? Someone is telling you, someone is validating you, telling you that this is a gem mint 9. Why does that matter? You might have a very nice raw version of a card. Why does it matter that you have to have a 9 version of it and then you end up having multiple versions of certain cards? Is it for you or is it for other people? I have my childhood Venusaur, for example, right? Shadowless Venusaur, whatever it is, on the surface, looks good. I could have it on my shelf, no issues, and I think it's a perfectly good card. And to me, what's special to me is that it's part of my childhood. I have memories attached to it, and it brings me joy to see it in my collection, right? But to some people, it's like, oh, you know what? This one has like a crease, is bended in the back, is damaged, or whatever it is. Then, no, then I gotta pay and find something that's like thousands of dollars just to replace it to get a better version of it. But again, the topic and the point of discussion and what I want you to think about coming out of this video is, who does that matter to? Who does this condition matter to? Does it matter to you? Yeah, for sure. Like, right, to a certain degree, for even for me, is like, you know what? I want, if I'm paying a price for something, I want something to be nice, right? As long as you're able to afford it, and as long as it's within your budget or it's reasonable or whatever it is. But I know a lot of people out there are buying these things on their credit cards, buying these things when they can't afford it, when they should be spending their money elsewhere. And at the end of the day, you know that because people regret these purchasing decisions. Same cards you see someone showing off a 9, a 10, or whatever it is that they spend hundreds, thousands to attain. The same cars you see end up on the open market by the same people later on, saying, oh, you know what, I need to get rid of this. There's always some kind of excuse, right? I got hit by a car. Like, apparently, there's a lot of vehicular, homicides going on, and everyone's getting hit by cars. Everyone's having car accidents. Everyone's going to the hospital. Everyone's trying to get rid of their stuff because they're in an emergency and they need emergency funds, which is fine and all. But I want you to think about, if you're spending money on these things and you can't afford it, why are you purchasing these things? Why are you so adamant about spending top dollar, the maximum amount, paying double, triple, quadruple, 10 times the amount just for that perfect 10? Just for that one moment to show off to people and have people say, oh my God, you got an amazing black label, perfect 10, amazing, And then after that, realize that after that one moment, people are like, oh, that's cool. That's it. People don't care. People don't care at the end of the day. It's just a fact of life where, for the most part, people don't care about what you do. People don't care about what you have. People will tell you, oh, yeah, that's cool. That's nice and all. Do they really mean it? Probably not. And at the end of the day, if you're doing these things and you're purchasing these things just purely for the sake of attention, for the clout or whatever it is, realize that it's not worth it at the end. And the last topic I want to bring to the discussion is a little bit more morbid, but I think it's also something very, very important for people to think about and talk about and bring to the discussion, whether it's with your friends or other people that collect. Where I think one common sentiment that I see is, a lot of people say, oh, you know what, I have all these like sealed boxes and I have this huge closet or basement full of just stuff everywhere, right? I mean, I'm kind of guilty of it too. You see, like behind me, I have all these figures. I display them. I open the boxes. I open these, packs or whatever it is because it makes me happy, right? But when you think about it, a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, so when I die, then the collection value will only go up to my kids or whoever I leave it with or whatever it is." I want you to think about that, right? It's very morbid to think about, oh, when we're not here anymore, but that's a very important point and part about collecting. Where are you collecting for yourself or are you collecting for other people? When you think about the here and now, this very moment, I'm collecting, I'm showing off to other people, I'm flexing on other people because my collection is very valuable, or the value is going to be perceived to go up in the future, right? But a lot of these people are buying these items because they're perceiving and speculating that it's going to go up in the future, but then it's hindering their progress in the moment here and now, meaning you're going into debt, you're going into financial ruin, you're spending all this money that you could have spent elsewhere or invested elsewhere to make your life at the current moment better, as opposed to just having some item sitting in your room, some box sitting in your room that's not doing anything for your current situation, right? So I know a lot of people use that argument to say, oh, it's because the value will go up, that, when I'm 60, 70, 80 years old. But let's be real here, right? At 60, 70, 80 years old, will you really care about this stuff? Yeah, some asshole out there is gonna be like, yeah, I'll care about this when I'm old and gray and, falling apart with osteoporosis. I'm gonna care about this item. But realistically, when you're 60, 70, 80 years old, most likely you're going to be worrying about things like, oh, your health. I don't know, like whatever pain you have going on, right? Again, this is a very morbid topic, but it's something that is reality. Where I want you to think about, if you're collecting something here and now, you have that sealed box, sealed whatever sitting around, and you're not enjoying it, and you're doing it just because you think other people will appreciate it. Important point, right? You think other people will appreciate this item later on. What about you? It's okay to be selfish and think about these things. Where, what about you? Will you care about this item later on? Does this bring you joy here and now, outside of the fact that you're seeking that validation from other people? It's not something you have to respond to, but I want you to think about it, rather than falling for all these social media traps and all these people on these Facebook groups, Discord groups, whatever groups you're in, where it's all about, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got that. And the moment you get something, or the moment you buy something, it's like, oh man, I can't wait to show it off to other people. Rather than, you know what? I'm just gonna get something that I enjoy myself, rather than something that I think other people will, get a kick out of it, right? Or someone's gonna like my post. So that's just what I want to leave you guys with. So that's why I want to leave to the discussion, right? I want you to think about, who are you really collecting for, and is it really for you, or is it for other people? And because YouTube is a format where it's a video where people watch and you don't have to actively participate and leave comments, right? It's just something to leave you to think about. So it's not a question you have to answer, but I hope it's a discussion and points that I've made that helps you when it comes to the collectibles hobby, or other aspects of your life. When, you think about, how important is it to have something, and to have that item? Is it for you, or is it because you want to flex and get that validation from other people, and get those chemicals going in your brain to feel good about it? But yeah, thank you for watching the video. I hope this discussion, this topic, really gets people thinking about, there are a lot of sides to the collectibles hobby that can be very, very negative and have negative impacts on your life, especially financially. We know how expensive collectibles can get. I don't want people to think I'm a hypocrite, right? So, like, I'm also the same asshole that has a giant fucking Tropica dual disc from Yu-Gi-Oh! That's like hundreds of dollars. But at the same time, you have to realize, like, I buy and sell collectibles. Like, there's parts of my collection that I enjoy. There's parts of my collection that I'm willing to let go because I really don't care about them. And it lets me pick up other things that I enjoy. But you have to be reasonable about it, right? I had to put that out. That thing box was like fucking gigantic. Does it bring me joy to share something like that? Yeah, just picking that item up makes me smile and makes me happy. It reminds me of my childhood. Like, it reminds me of like good times. Not that there aren't good times right now, but it reminds me of good times. And if you're picking up some of these items and it doesn't bring you joy because you're only happy about it that one moment that you posted that picture on social media to show other people that you got it, then maybe you want to reevaluate a lot of your purchases. And it's okay to let go parts of your collection, to recoup costs. And it's never too late to back out of a hobby if you're doing it purely for the wrong reasons. At the end of the day, don't get me wrong, the collectibles hobby is a very good hobby and a very good outlet for people to bring joy and to just escape reality. Like, when I look at some of these things, when I look at parts of my collection, you see it all around me, right? Whether it's the figures, the dual discs, my card collection, my plushes, my White Schwartz decks, these things bring me joy, and that's what's important to me, right? And I don't want to see people the people that leave comments in my video, and there's people that learn from their mistakes, but there's, for every person that learns from their mistakes, I know there's people out there that double down and go like, you're wrong, you're an asshole. Or like, you just don't understand, this stuff will go up in value. But like, when you're buying these things purely just for the sake of, oh, it's because it's worth this much, or if it's worth this much to other people, is the value really there? And is that what's truly important to you? I just want you to think about that. Other than that, thank you for watching. I hope this video wasn't too long. I really do think that when I make these videos, if it touches even one person out there, if even one person learns from these videos and it's thought provoking in one way or another, then my efforts into making these videos was worth it. Other than that, yeah, if you enjoyed the videos or if you have something to add to the discussion, please do leave it in the comments, because when you guys talk about your experiences, your failures, it's okay to admit you fail, right? When you talk about things that you did wrong, like I'll talk about some purchases later on that I've made mistakes on. When you talk about these things in the comments, it makes other people come forward and other people talk about it or think about it and go like, hey, you know what? I was the same way as well too, and that's okay. It's okay to not always just be like, I only post and talk about my ups and ups and talk about how great things are. It's okay to talk about, you know what? These are things that I went wrong on as well too, and I think that's where the value and that's what's important when it comes to, talking about topics like this, and that's what matters to me the most. But yeah, if you guys like the videos, remember just to like it and just leave a comment. I appreciate everyone that subscribes to the channel. It feels so yucky all the time to like, shill for your own videos, but I honestly appreciate when, the important videos, at least when topics like this reach like a wider audience, where even if it's one extra person that it helps, that's already a really, really great thing. But yeah, thank you guys for watching and have a great day. Take care.